So you guys wrap through that workup and you go on your first deployment. How was that first deployment? You went to Iraq on your first deployment, right?
Yeah. Well, for the second half. First half went to Guam, which was disheartening. I'm like, dude, there's a war going on. Let's go to war. Oh, cool. You're gonna go to Guam, but it's part of it. It's just part of it.
Part of the mission.
Part of the mission.
Yeah. Again, military people deploy all over the world all the time to maintain stability, and that includes all units of the military, even special operations. So SEALs, sometimes you get deployed to places where there's no, really visible threat.
Yeah.
And it's not what SEALs generally want to do.
Yeah. So we did training. We cross-trained with a couple different countries. Some other platoon went to the PI. We were in Guam. We went to Thailand to work with the Thai SEALs for 9 days. And it was cool getting to see how other countries do stuff. And now that I look back at it, it did give me a much bigger picture, overview of stuff. But at the time, I'm not even 21. I'm just wanting to get after it, And I didn't for the first half, but then we rip and we go to Iraq. I'm like, yes, going to Iraq. Well, I knew what we were headed over there to do, but I was hoping there'd be, the ability to do a lot of different stuff, and ended up doing personal security for some higher dignitaries over there during the elections. And it was cool. Looking back now, you look at what you did and you put that on your resume. People are like, what? Wow, you did that? And to me, I was thinking, well, yeah, that sucked, but it didn't. It was also very good. It's a very good learning experience. And it was part of the mission. And the problem is when they had a gap in that protection, some team guys came to do it, and team guys do what they do, and they just knocked it out of the park. So guess what? Team guys now have the mission for that. And but it was cool. We worked with some different units, some Marines and Army guys, and they were phenomenal over there as well. And it was awesome to be able to learn from them. Guys that have been on their couple deployments already, and the war hasn't really kicked off. And it was good. And then our chief got fired. I was just like, jeez. But the head shed was solid. Like our OIC, AOIC, who became the Delta Platoon commander, solid dudes, and so we just had to weed out some of the weak ones.
Right on. And that's the nature of that mission, is defense. And I don't want to be on defense ever, right? I want to be on offense. That's where I want to be. So it was a tough mission for the guys to of course, you'd never know this from their professionalism, but no one was jumping up and down saying, hey, great, we get to be on defense all the time for a long period of time. And the fact that the guys did perform so well and that we kept the mission, again, like you said, we kept the mission because we did a good job, not that we were jumping up and down excited about doing it, because we don't even be on defense. We want to be on offense.
Yeah, absolutely. And now I look back, I'm like, some of the things, and I did get to do a pretty cool thing there. And then, we got to see all of Iraq, I got to go up to northern Iraq, up in Kurdistan. And,
oh yeah, because those dignitaries were traveling around.
Well, he was Kurdish and he was from northern Iraq, and it was gorgeous up there, you know. We actually, so I had a little come to Jesus talk with one of the older guys. He was just kind of reeling me back in because I wasn't very happy. I was pissed that other guys were out doing direct actions, DAs, and I want to be doing that. And my boy Pepper, he talked to me, he sat me down, and he's like, "Man, this is big picture thing, and this is part of it." He's like, "And you're a new guy." He's like, "I know you want to get after it. I know you're aggressive, but it's a good deal, yes, it's not the ideal thing that we want to do." He's like, "But this is not a bad deal. We're in civilian clothes and fully armored SUVs, getting to travel around with this guy." And he just was like, "You just need to change your mindset, and he's like, "You need to stay focused because after this deployment, it might be something completely different, and he's like, "Just stay the course, stay focused, and, get the mission done." And it was an awesome talk. I needed that, I just needed that guidance and mentorship because I was young,
Yeah, for sure.
Pepper's an older guy. He had a good amount of experience, and he just knew what I needed to hear, and roughed me up a little bit and continued on, man. It was good. It was awesome. Learned a lot from it. So
yeah. So you get back from that deployment.
Yep.
And this is when This is when we formed up, when we started working together.
Yes, sir.
In TU Bruiser.
Yep. Again,
You went
come back from I come back from deployment, and then all of a sudden it was like, hey, we need snipers. I'm like, how fast does my hand get up for this one, And literally gone, like, again, within a week. And went through the NSW short course, which, we didn't get our sniper certificates from that because we didn't do everything, but I didn't care. You're giving me sniper guns. And I know how to use them. They're doped in. I get to kill savages. Okay, You know
what's crazy is, remember when they used to try and they had rules about how much we could be gone from home?
Yeah.
Remember those days?
Oh, we violated all those.
Yes, we violated them, but then young guys in the teams and a lot of old guys too, they literally are raising their hand for everything. Like, oh, yeah, get me out of here, man. Oh, you're going to send me that school? Oh, you're going to send me on another deployment? And it's weird because there's some people that, a guy that's married and has a family, they don't want to do that anymore, and they shouldn't have to. But they blanket apply the rules across the board to everybody. Because I'll tell you what, when you're 19 years old and you're in the SEAL teams, you don't want to be at home any night of the week. You want to be either on deployment or getting trained and getting after it.
Yeah.
That's what's awesome.
Yeah.
But they blanket those rules, which is a bummer.
Yeah. I mean, I was just fired up. And to be able to go to sniper school,
Yeah.
because,
It's a big deal.
It's a huge
It's a big deal to
It's
get
a
to go to sniper
huge
school.
deal. And one of the older guys in the platoon, he's still active in the team, so I won't say his name, but he was one of my really good buddies, and I really looked up to him. We did an awesome mission together on that first deployment. And
I know who you're talking about.
Yeah.
He's one of my favorite guys.
The Badger.
Yeah.
The Badger. And, he's just an awesome guy, and he was a sniper, and he would always talk to me about little things. And I was just, and even before I went, he was like teaching me stuff, and he's like, yeah, this. So I don't know if he had a say in me going there or what, but I went. I was super excited. And then also Chris, Chris was a big influence as well. As he's a successful sniper on his second deployment, first deployment
from Fallujah.
Yeah, and you're just hearing about what he's doing in Fallujah, and I was like, please, Lord, like, I just want to do this so badly. And you hear Chris, telling stories, and hear other people telling stories about Chris, and I even had a buddy who was back from Sacramento. He was a Marine he was the Marine officer in charge of Chris and those guys over there. So he's telling me stories that were just like, I was like, what?
You're like,
dude, this is awesome. And so anyways, we go through the short course. It was legit. It was in the summer, out in the mountains, in the desert, doing everything. Guys are blacking out on their stalks because it's 120 degrees and you're trying to do a 4-hour stalk in a ghillie suit, but which was awesome because it prepared us for Ramadi. It's like, dude, the worst stuff, you're just okay, and had a great time. The instructors were pretty solid, and then all of a sudden it was like, because we had a condensed workup, they're like, hey, we got to get going. So normally what it would take 18 months, we had to condense into 11 months. And, all of a sudden then we're headed out to
our desert training facility.
For our first trip.
Yeah. And that's where we met for the first time.
Met. Yeah. I had heard about this guy, Jocko. And guys were fired up because they're like, dude, this guy is fired up. He's just another, thing. It was just this bigger, stoic guy that was professional, who had a good amount of experience in the teams, and who just wanted to get in the fight. And I was like, yes, this is what we need.
It was pretty apparent when I first met you that you wanted to get in the fight too.
Yeah, I might have been bandaged up a little bit from smashing out a car window.
Yeah.
But some idiots downtown and spit on my.
What were you saying? I was saying to you when I saw that.
So when you saw it, you're like, hey, I'm Jocko. I was like, I'm JP. You're like, I know who you are. And I was like, roger that. It's kind of like, okay. And you're like, so what's up with the wrist? And I was like, I got a couple stitches. And you're like, from what? I was like, I smashed out a car window with my elbow and I got caught. He's like, huh, you gonna stop doing that stupid shit? I'm like, yeah. He's like, you need to be training here with the guys and with us and focused on workup. And he's like, if you want to fight, we fight, And I was like, roger that, sir. And I was like, I'm going to go work out. And so, because I remember I was walking to the gym. I just changed out the bandages. I had stitches and staples in my arm. And I had all bandaged up and trying to get after it. I was going to go work out. And there I see the silverback gorilla. So it was awesome. It was good. You just set the precedence. You set the tone for, hey, yeah, it's cool to be aggressive and want to fight and get after it, but you do it in the right place and the right time. And don't forget, at the end of the day, we're going to war to kill bad guys. That's the number one focus.
Yeah.
And it was just like, that just kind of really opened up my eyes. So it was cool.
Yeah, and that workup was awesome. We had
so
a great
excited.
time.
Yeah, it was so much fun. I mean, just the energy there. I mean, everyone was ready to get after it, and you drove it in all of us. I remember you coming up to me when we're in between IADs, and you're like, "Hey, every time like someone gets a door, I want you to be the dude that's as loud as possible." You told me to go to tape JP on the back of my helmet. You're like, "I always want to be able to find you." And maybe you did, maybe you didn't, but
I did. I mean, that's legit right there.
Oh.
So hey, I'll tell you right now, I say this all the time. Well, I shouldn't say I say this all the time, but there's people that have certain qualities, right? Certain qualities, whether they're leadership qualities, whether they're skills at art or at speaking or at basketball, right? People have certain qualities.
Yep.
Well, you had a good ability. You had a great ability to get command of something and make something happen very quickly, right? And it's because you're loud. You're loud. Number one. Number two, you're aggressive. Number three, you can take whatever that problem is and like get it into some quick words. You can simplify it into something quickly and say it.
Yeah.
And as soon as I saw that you could do that, because we have to get people to perform fairly complex things in chaotic situations. But when I saw that you had that skill, I said, okay, he's a guy that I can utilize, and that his platoon commander can utilize, and that the whole troop can utilize to handle certain situations when there's some chaos going on and something needs to be straightened out. So what I want you to do is take some riggers tape, and I want you to write JP on your helmet. So whenever I'm looking around on my night vision or during the daytime, and you just see a bunch of helmets that look the same, now I know it's JP. When I see him coming, I go, JP, make this happen right here. And JP can make it happen right there.
I still have that helmet with the tape.
Boom.
Sitting in my garage on the shelf.
That's awesome.
It's kind of cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So we get obviously orders 2 weeks prior to deployment that we're going to Ramadi. We had thought we were going somewhere else. We thought we were going to Baghdad. We thought we were going to have kind of a cookie cutter deployment of what the teams had been doing for a few years. And we find out 2 weeks before deployment that we're going to Ramadi. And how did you find out? Did I call? Did the Delta Platoon commander, did the chief call you? How did you find out we were going to Ramadi? Because you guys were all on leave. You remember?
I don't think they even told us until we got back.
Not even told you guys.
I mean, because it was all over the news what was going on over there. So I don't think they told us.
Yeah, I probably didn't tell. I know back. I told the leaders.
Yeah.
And said, hey guys, stand by to get some.
Yeah. Yeah, because I remember we found out we were on leave. We came home, came back to San Diego, and we were getting to roll out. And that's when we found out where we're going. And we were getting ready, and we all had our families. We had our families, the day we're shipping off to say goodbye. And there's a couple guys like reading like news reports and articles about the area we're going to. And I'm like trying to like pull my mom away so she doesn't hear this, you know what I mean? And my dad's just like listening, like getting fired up. He's like, yes. And, my dad, you could tell as a father, he's very excited for me. My mom's terrified, nervous. But my dad was nervous as well. Rightfully so, like your son's going off to war and combat. But it was this mix of emotions for him. And so he was trying to hide like the nervousness by saying, when are you leaving? Come on, we've been waiting. It's about time for you to go.
Yeah,
and I'm like,
get out of here.
Jeez.
I just remembered when I got told, when they said when the commanding officer brought me in, and he's and he was trying to sell to me going to Ramadi instead of going to Baghdad. He's like proposing it as like, hey, this could be good. And inside, I'm like, oh my God, I'm like so. And I remembered I bargained for something. There's something that I said, well, well, we want this. If we can do this, then we can make it happen. I think it was gear, some kind of gear swap we did.
Yeah.
But anyways, I remember them trying to sell it to me, and I knew I was in such a good position because it's like someone trying to sell you free money. You know what I mean? I was like, oh, you want a scooter money? Okay, let me think about that for a second. And inside, I'm going, don't blow it. Just act cool.
Yeah, poker face.
Don't get too
face.
excited. Just, maybe you might be able to leverage something. Just relax inside. I'm like, okay, I think we can make it happen. I need a little bit of this, and I might need a couple more support personnel out there to give us a hand getting acclimated and getting the turnover done. But if I can get 5 or 6 more personnel, I'm just gathering logistics support for my troop. That's what I was bargaining for.
So awesome.
I was gathering logistics support for the troop, getting more CBs to come help us and more intel guys. I'm like, as long as we can have this and that. And he's like, yeah, I'll talk to them and we'll see if we can make it happen. And it happened.
Yeah. The CO was awesome. Solid dude.
Yeah.
So solid. I remember, because I got in trouble when I went home on leave during Christmas time.
Am I seeing some kind of a pattern of trouble here?
Or, if you want to say that.
You know
fine.
what?
But
Here's
I
the
just,
deal. One of my best friends.
Didn't have the outlets.
One of my best friends in the SEAL team when I was younger, right? We were the same way. We were maniacs. And one time he got in really big trouble. And the platoon commander, who's one of my favorite guys and the guy that inspired me to go the officer route because he was a prior enlisted guy and he was an awesome guy and he made the platoon awesome for us. That guy, so I'm thinking he must be so angry at my buddy that got in big trouble, like borderline international incident. And I kind of said, hey, are you mad at him for what happened, or what do you think of this? And he said something along the lines of, he's a warrior. You can't stop these things from happening. It's in your guys' blood. We have to just deal with it the best we can.
Yeah, and you guys did.
That was always my attitude.
I look back now, I'm 33, and I'm like, man. But, you learn from your mistakes. And you make sure you don't, pay them again. I was up in Reno. I got arrested for, that older guy started a fight with me and my friends. And I was with non-team guy friends. They're super passive guys. And he's an older, much bigger guy, and, was coming at me. He had a bottle in his hand. It was just, anyways, do some damage to him. He ends up in the hospital for a long time. I get rolled up. I get arrested. I go there. They're looking through my wallet. They're like, security clearance, SEAL Team 3. And I'm like, yeah. And the cop goes, why didn't you tell me this when we were out there? He's like, I would have dropped you off around the corner. I was like, well, I didn't want, I'm not going to try to pull that card. I made a mistake. He's like, well, you're here now, so we have to deal with it. So I go home. I remember I tell the LPO about it. He's like, all right, we got to go tell Chief. And Chief's like, all right, we got to go tell the OIC. We got to go tell the Command Master Chief. And Ops Master Chief was press on and bro. Two phenomenal leaders. I mean, just couldn't get better, higher enlisted leaders ever, right?
Yep.
So, of course, they're hearing the story, and they kind of give me the rundown. And then, Master Chief press on goes, JP, you think you're the first team guy to get arrested for fighting? Let me tell you some stories. And he just he's like, hey, we got to fix this. You know what I mean? He's like, obviously it was clearly self-defense. And he's like, whatever you need from us. Yeah. That was good. Cool, whatever. What I do is I make the mistake is I go back home on Christmas leave shortly after that, and I got a wet and reckless. So not a DUI, but, whatever, close enough. I was an idiot. And, I'm Superman. I'm only 22. I'm not even 23 yet. And, we were crushing the workup. So it was I felt even better about life and everything else like that. And we know we're going to war. And, I just made a mistake and, pay the consequences. I come home and I'm like, oh, dude, what do I do? I'm like, they're going to kill me. I was like, I'm possibly not going to deploy. And I remember I broke down. I just broke down, emotionally. I'm like, I just threw everything away, for what, And I was really upset. And I went and told the Badger, about it first. I was like, hey, man, I need some advice. I was like, I think I can take leave and take care of this on my own and everything. He goes, yeah, I think we can. He's like, but if not, that's a big risk, He's like, dude, we have solid leadership right now. Now's the time that you just get your butt kicked for this and just deal with it. He's like, dude, just take what comes at you. And I'm like, all right, bro. I was like sick to my stomach. I was like, well, I don't know how this is going to turn out. We go to the LPO. Dude, he's like, you blah, blah. And I'm like, right, yep, roger that. Go to the chief. Chief, same thing. I'm like, Go AOIC. It was Andrew Paul. And Andrew Paul was like, JP, really? Like, he was what hurt is how disappointed he was. Everyone was disappointed. Like, you're better than that. And I was, And then, so we go back over there to go talk to Master Chief Yarbrough and Presson. And I was just like, I was so ashamed. Like, I was just, I just got the chills. I was disgusted with myself, So, they go through and they're like, all right, well, we're going to have a Chiefs review board. See if you get to keep your trident and stay in the teams. I was just like trying not to throw up right then and there. I'm like, go back to platoon space. Like, how do you even function the rest of the day after that? Like, I was like, so I'm looking at the badger. I'm like, maybe we shouldn't have said this. You know what I mean? I was like, dude. So anyways, long story short, they had the Chiefs review board. And luckily, they were doing remodeling over at the compound. So I was 2 rooms over, but the ceilings were open and vaulted.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
So I could hear them all talking about me beforehand. And, of course, you had a bunch of, it was all the chiefs in the command. And, there were some chiefs there that, were support personnel. They're like, screw this kid, let's blah, 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 blah. And then, Yarbrough goes, hold up. Yeah. The kid's a good kid. I was with him at SQT. He made a mistake. And so, I remember him taking my back because he's like, oh, really? Let's get rid. And he starts pulling up, other guys that had made mistakes. He's like, well, what about when you did this? And what about when you did that? He's like, no, he's good. And Presson's like, nope, we're keeping him. We're going to crush him, but we're keeping him. So I go in there, and luckily I'd heard that. And so I went in there and just, faced the man. And, the whole rest of workup, I was on restriction. We're on the road. We're awesome trips. We're going to Vegas for a work trip. And guess who has a curfew?
Did you have a curfew during that?
Oh.
I do remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. If I was to go get food, I had to be back within a certain time frame. Yeah. You're like, oh, wait, actually, guess what? They serve food here, so you don't need to leave the building. You can get room service because you don't need to be sitting down at the tables. And I'm like, yeah, but whatever. I dealt with it.
It's good that you had that kind of sense of fear in there. I mean, just looking back, I can tell you right now, you could have committed a broad series of crimes against humanity, and I would have still taken you on deployment. And I basically told bro that for sure. Hey, I don't give a shit.
Yeah. It's just, I was very lucky and blessed. We were blessed to have, good leaders like you and bro and Presson and those guys that were just like, hey man, guys make mistakes. We're going to fix it. It's not like you guys are like, oh, no big deal. You're like, oh, cool. Hey,
you got to learn.
You got to learn from it, and, I definitely learned from it. And the CO was super cool. And the CO stood by what you guys stood. And that said a lot to me about him as a leader as well, because he trusted your guys' judgment. Yeah. And I remember he comes out towards the end of our deployment when we've been getting it the whole time. He's like, man, I'm really glad I listened to them and kept you around. So it was just awesome. It all kind of turned around because it was basically, you guys were like, hey, we're going to hold it where it's at, and we'll see how he does on deployment. And when he comes back, we'll hammer him, and if we need to. So
yeah. All right, so we go on deployment.
Yep.
And like you said, people are reading the newspaper. I mean, I knew because I was reading all the intel. I mean, I was totally read in and was trying to explain to you guys and telling you guys stand by to get some. We show up there and do some. Basically, the forces almost instantly, we divide into 5 different teams, and we end up doing big operation over in eastern Ramadi, and that kind of set the tone and carved out a little space for a certain crew. And actually, in the retirement speech that I gave, I talk about, hey, we're going to send some guys over here. If you want to go volunteer, you got to put your name on this list. And, of course, everyone put their name on the list, which made it go back to the original plan, which was the Delta platoon commander saying, these are the guys I'll take. I need 8 guys. I'll take these guys. Yeah. And, had a little, make sure that we weren't making anything too unbalanced. But obviously he wanted you with him. And so you guys roll out to Corregidor with the first of the 506 Band of Brothers.
Yeah, those guys are phenomenal.
Yeah.
Love those guys.
Talk about Full Metal Jacket.
A blown out old school.
Yeah.
I think it was an old school or like a university.
It was like a university, I think.
Old university, just completely blown out, like walls. I mean, there's more bags of sand than concrete, I think, there holding the place up. We had the Army and Marines living with us in there. And I remember we show up and we're just like, dude.
Yeah, when I went there for that big first kickoff, yeah, that place was just dirt floors, mosquitoes everywhere, bugs everywhere.
Yeah.
I don't even think there was AC.
No, there wasn't.
It was like one dangling light in every room.
Yeah,
that was hard living.
But that was all one big room. They had like a sheet of plywood that divided the big room that we all ended up eventually like building our own rooms into.
Yeah,
I remember getting over there and guys were like I was so fired up. I'm like, yes, I'm in it. Like, this is horrible. It's horrible because there's a fight going on right here. You know what I mean? Like the nice built up bases, there's not a fight there. No. Where it's like horrible, there's a fight. I was just super excited.
Yeah, Corregidor was awesome, and there was guys with the 1st to 506. That place was getting mortared every day. That place was getting attacked every day. I mean, remember when we first went there, and it's like I said, guys are like, can we go up on the walls? Can snipers go up on the walls and like defend? And I was like, yes.
And we did.
Yeah, you guys went up and started whacking people almost immediately.
It was awesome. You didn't even have to leave base to kill guys.
Yeah. What kind of a joy is that right there?
It's like the best Christmas present ever. But it was also the same time, like if you want to go grab chow, you have to be in full body armor, helmet, and your gun, because the gun got constantly attacked. There's a couple times you hear doom, doom, and you just hear the incoming mortars, and you're sprinting to try to you're like, when you're in the middle, you're like, do I go back? Do I go to the chow hall? Are they aiming for our building this time? I remember this one time I was going out to take a shower.
Decisions.
I know.
Decisions.
Just make one and go. And this was a complete, I had my angels God thing, and we come back from an op, and guys are smoked, right? And most guys are just like, I'm just going to get into bed, like my baby wipe shower, and just lay down. I just wanted to actually just go take a shower, right? And so the Army guys are awesome. They gave us the code so we could use it on our times when we came back, instead of the standard scheduled Army shower times.
Yep.
So I go out there, and I get to the shower tent. I'm like, I forgot my loofah sponge, so I can actually like try to like wash with my soap and everything.
Hardcore JP Dinnell. In combat, you know what you got to bring to combat with you? You got to bring your loofah sponge. That's what I'm talking about.
You gotta clean the body. You know what I mean? So anyways, I go back, and as I'm walking back up the steps to get into the thing, shower tent gets hit by 3 mortars. Man. And I was destroyed, gone. Like, I was just like, okay.
That was a shower tent that was like 20 meters from Full Metal Jacket, right?
Yeah. I legitimately was just like in there, and I was like, oh. I remember I was like, I'll just put the soap in my hands, and I was like, nope. That was complete. I had my angels. God was like, no, you need to get out of here. And so I walked back, and I'm literally taking the last step like into that little dark hallway, and I was like, okay, where's my baby wipes? So like, I have to go get some baby. And that's what was so crazy. It was like something like that. It was just like, okay, shit, now I'm pissed. And so baby wiped it up. And until we got that fixed, we were doing bottled water showers. You poke holes in the top of a water bottle, and your buddy squeezes it over you, and that's how we showered.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
Yeah. And that's another thing. The Army guys from the 1st to 506, I mean, obviously they're living that way too, but every day you'd see them, they're always in the squared away uniforms, always, shaving every day, no slack, no fucking slack whatsoever for the 1st to 506. And that was the attitude that you guys went over with,
I made sure our guys had shaved heads because I was the acting LPO. The Badger was the acting chief, and we rocked the Army camis.
Yeah, we put you guys in Army uniforms.
Army camis, and we all had shaved heads, and we shaved every day. We just looked like the Army. I mean, because who cares about a haircut and a shave? Unless I needed to have a beard, which, I mean, I have a red beard, so who am I blending in with? Russians or Irish? You know what I mean? Like, I'm in Iraq, you know what I mean? Like, bright blue eyes and a red beard. Oh, you must be a local.
We're being attacked by leprechauns. Yeah. Giant leprechauns.
The giant tattooed leprechauns. And so, we just shaved our heads and got after it. And I mean, dude, like why? That doesn't matter. That doesn't make you a less effective, either way, and you could tilt that, you could flip side that the other way. It's like, hey, well, if I have long hair and a beard, what does that matter? Well, it really doesn't. But it's the Army's battle space. Yep. And we respected and loved those guys. They were phenomenal guys to work for. So why are we going to do something that is just to piss them off? Why? Who cares? So we just shaved and, kept our heads shaved, which was awesome actually, because your helmet stuck to that like a little Brillo pad and it didn't move around a lot. And, and then the Marines that were with us, the Anglo guys, those phenomenal guys, they started doing the same thing. They're shaving their heads. And my boy Nick Hobbs, he was with us. He's out. He's an awesome stud Marine. And, we always joke about, he's like, man, he's like, I just remember we all just would hang out in our free time. And he's like, you come really close with somebody when they're standing in their boxer briefs and you're having to pour water over them for them to shower. And we're up on the rooftop, right? Doing bottles of water shower. And it's just funny, man. I miss those days.
Yeah. Yeah. And just so everybody knows now, I mean, just to kind of give an overview, if you don't know, what the overall operations that were taking place were, pushing in the Camp Corregidor, which we've been talking about, which is where this building Full Metal Jacket was on eastern Ramadi. And the 1st of the 506 was responsible for the eastern part of Ramadi, really the southeastern, and then some other sections. But where the SEAL platoon was, or the SEAL squad now, is basically a smaller group, was working, was inside this area called the Malab district. And as the first of the 506 would do big clearance operations, you guys would go out and primarily do sniper overwatch. Although you did other stuff, you did clearances and all that, but the primary mission, thank God you went to sniper school, because you were the lead sniper and you did a lot of sniper work over there.
Yeah, it was awesome. We got just right place, right time. It was just. That's all I can really explain. You know, now we worked to get work, and we pushed the envelope constantly, but I mean, we're no better than anybody over there. We were just hungry. We wanted it so bad. And I remember when we showed up there, the colonel, won't say his name, but he was awesome.
Awesome.
I mean, I wish he was running for president.
Absolutely.
I mean,
I would vote for him, and obviously I would vote for him instantly.
Yeah.
He was just unbelievable.
I'd go
leader.
on the campaign trail, in a heartbeat.
No doubt about it.
Anyways, awesome guy. And, you talk about communication from leadership. You talk about a guy that
can say his name, by the way. He's a general now. It's very obvious who it is, the commander of the 1st of 506 during the Battle of Ramadi.
Okay.
A guy by the name of Ron Clark. Ron Clark was just an unbelievable leader, and an unbelievable leader.
Yeah, Ronald Clark, 2020.
Yeah.
But awesome guy. But he had the ability to communicate with us to where we wanted to help him.
Of course.
And he was just like, hey, guys, I need help. And that's one thing I learned later on in life is when I was doing sales, I'm like, people don't want to be helped, but they want to help. And he knew that, and so he's like, guys, I need help. We're losing guys every day. This is what we're going on. Hey, here's your ROEs. Please go get some. And we're like, oh, yes, this is it. And we had that connection with them. And, just being able to go out and work for them was phenomenal.
Yeah.
And it was awesome. I mean,
the Delta platoon commander formed such a good relationship with those guys, and my relationship with him.
Yeah.
I mean, he was just
solid dude
and wanted to get after it.
Yes.
Wanted to get after it as much as humanly possible.
Yeah. And then some.
And then a little bit more.
Yeah.
And with a little bit more on top of that. So, yeah, it was a great combination. And you did a lot of those operations, too. So,
yeah,
kind of the standard, what we call them standard. It wasn't that standard at the time.
Daytime presence patrols get some, and when I did that, I carried the Mark 46, 5.56 belt fed action, and it was awesome. You have 200 rounds on the gun, and I threw another 800 rounds on my front, and I had another 200 in the back. So 1,200 rounds with body armor, grenades, smokes, water.
And that's when I was telling that story in the beginning. It's like one of those first big operations we did out there, and that's where that's from. That's where that memory's from, is seeing you walking and being, okay, guess all those way that he acted during training with paintball, he's going to act the same way right here with his life on the line.
Either walked, it was cool because I either walked point or rear security because I was a machine gunner, you know, and you want a machine gun up front and you want one in the back because they're coming from the rear. And I just remember that, you know, first push that you were talking about, the first real firefight I got into, just cut these dudes in half, and it was awesome. And, you know, it was, you know, everything the colonel told us was going to happen happened. Hey, usually within this amount of time frame, they start coming out. Here's what they do. They come around the corner, then they distract you, and they do this, and this is when the attack happens. And like clockwork, I mean, these savages were just coming at us exactly how we were told it was going to come at us.
Yeah.
And that, I think that helped us gain even more respect for the Army that we worked for, because they could have just been like, hey, go get some. But they're like, hey, go get some and come back so you can continue getting some.
Yeah, no, the turnover that we would get from those guys was phenomenal. And the professionalism that they had, like what you're talking about, like the Charlie Company commander, Crazy Joe.
Yeah.
And he was freaking awesome. And one of the things that he would do, and this is when I said, oh, this guy's on the next level. He's doing something that I never even thought of. Every time he went on patrol in the Malab, he was recording it. He was video recording it. And then he'd come back and review every street corner, every building, every signpost. He knew everything about it. He knew that city. And he took his job like so seriously. Yeah. It was phenomenal.
I remember the Delta Platoon commander had told me that he was doing that, or we knew that, and it really emphasized us to, hey, we need to know this area just as well. Yeah. And it didn't take long. I'm not trying to be cocky or anything, but within a couple of weeks, like, I didn't need my map. Like, I knew that city. You know what I mean? Like, now I had the map on me too.
Of course.
So if I needed to look at it and be like, oh, I'm at this building, and hey, we're pushing over here, so I can scan real quick and go. But like, I knew exactly where I was at all times because those guys did, and we needed to know that. You can't have a delay in communication when you're in a firefight, you know, or if guys are down, you know. And there's just, I remember when, you know, just hearing over the radio when Cowie got shot, just. Like, I'll never forget that, you know, and knowing exactly where they're at. And there was a little confusion leaving. And I was like, no, we need to go this way. And legitimately just started running that way, you know, because you just hear Mikey opening up and the Badgers trying to pull him out. And your boys are in a firefight and you just don't know what's going to happen. And we're trying to get there as fast as we could. And it was just like, we legitimately got there as fast as we could. And it was because we knew we had to be prepared, you know. And could you imagine if we didn't know where exactly they were or where we were, and you're just sitting there like trying to listen to a map, you know, read a map when you hear your boy over the radio like, hey, I've been shot, and you just hear a huge machine gun just going off, and you're just like, whew. Like, but dude, the boys we were with, Delta Platoon Commander, deep breath, JP, where we at? You know, he knew where we're at, but he's like, hey, where do we need to go? You know, exactly. And, you know, because he could have gotten us there, but he wanted me to get us there because I was the point
he's thinking about other things.
And he doesn't need to be worried about that because he's working 2 radios, trying to get in, you know, he's got to figure out like, hey, let's get some tanks in here to mow the city down to get our boy out and get him to the hospital, you know. And so
the story that JP's talking about right there is like the first significant casualty that we had. We had some other guys get fragged a little bit, but that was the first one. Cowie. Cowie got shot and about lost his leg, but they were able to save it. And now he's a stud. Yeah. Still.
Yep.
But
Cheetahs, what is it? Cheetahs or leopards don't lose their spots.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah. No doubt.
He's still a warrior inside and out. Solid.
Yeah.
Solid dude.
He's a guy I tell the story about where, like, when I went to see him in Charlie Med, so he's all morphined up. We rolled in there, and I like went to shake his hand like a bro handshake, and like when he reached up, he grabbed my hand, and he like pulls me down, right, and he's like in my ear, and he goes, "Let me stay."
Oh yeah, he was.
I'm like, hey bro,
you're about to lose your leg.
I didn't tell him that. Yeah. But I was like, hey bro, let's make sure you get healed up, and I think you're gonna have to leave to do that. And he's like, just let me stay. He goes, I don't care. I'll clean, you know, but just let me stay. Yeah. And I was like, bro, it's just go get healed up. If you have to go get healed up. We'll bring you back. And of course, he didn't heal up fast enough because it was pretty jacked up. He got an armor-piercing round in his leg that entered like down by his knee and exited up by his groin.
Yeah. It hit the femur, right?
Yeah.
And just traveled.
Dude,
I
it was
mean,
nasty.
he's lucky to have his leg.
Absolutely.
I mean, he's legitimately lucky. So
I've got to get him on the podcast sometime. His whole life is awesome. All right. Well, you know what? I was thinking. Well, there's one more op that I was thinking of besides the kind of urban sniper operations you were doing and presence patrols. You did a cool op that was a little bit more like Leif and I were always talking about how. Oh, you know what? It's not like you see in the movies because with these sniper Overwatch positions, we'd have a bunch of people with us. We have 20, 15, 20, 10, 30 people. You have a lot of people to be in these buildings and hold security and all that. Whereas in the movies, they always portray like two guys out in the middle of nowhere. Mm-hmm. And we always go, that's not that realistic. But you guys actually did one off like that.
Yeah, we did. It was
full on.
Full on. It was pretty awesome. Yeah, so up in northern Sofia, we're getting just hammered by mortars, just constantly. We knew that's where they're coming from. So we get dropped off at a little outstation north of, the Malab district,
mm-hmm.
and we just did a patrol. It was a long patrol up there. And I remember, we're, hugging the river, trying to stay as close to the river as we can. It's, you go from the dry, just dead city to this lush vegetation, and you're trying to patrol through that. And I'm just like, dude, hands like all the guys in Vietnam, all those guys that just got after it. Like, I've always respected them, but that just brought a new level of respect. Like, because we have night vision. They didn't most of the time, And it was just like,
and it is hard for people to understand that that north of Ramadi that was like well irrigated by the river, by the Euphrates River, it looked like Vietnam.
Yeah,
it had palm trees, it had like paddies and dikes and all that stuff. It looked like Vietnam.
Yeah,
and Leif was talking about it the other day, and he's like, there was like the bull pulling a plow type situation, straight up looked like Vietnam.
Yeah, it was crazy. So, anyways, we go up there. And, man, we had dogs that were following us. So, I can't say his name. He's still in, but he carried a suppressed MP5 with subsonic rounds. Mm-hmm. So he was our dog killer. Mm-hmm. And, it was pretty funny. And so he just, these are bad savage dogs, so don't worry. And so we're getting up there, they're, barking, giving away our location. So we, handle them. We keep going. And we get set up at night, and, we get all OP set up, and, we're right on the river. Like, that's right on the river because we know if we need the boats to come in and support us, they can come in. We can get a fast extract out of there. And, so me and the Badger, we have change out into all of our stuff, like we're carrying gear for like 3 to 4 days, mm-hmm. right? Like, it's almost physically impossible to carry that much water. Mm-hmm. Like, and all your ammo and everything else like that. And so we get it done, and we change out, get in our ghillie suits. And I just remember like thinking like, dude, this is legit.
This is it.
Like, you see like the ambient light like coming in through the trees where we're all like hidden and vegged up, and the guys are set their perimeter. We're in our ghillie suits, and we just boom. And one of the other guys was like, dude, it was awesome. You guys were there, and we're turning around. And he goes, and you guys were gone. Like, you just disappeared in the dark, and, we went and got set up, And like I said, the Badger was, he was a sniper before, so I learned a lot from him. But at this time, we both had a good amount of experience of actually on the gun and whatnot. And so he was, no ego with him. What I mean? He's just awesome. So, like, easy back. He's like, hey, man, this is what we're going to do. What do you think? I'm like, yeah, let's do it. And then they're saying, I'm like, hey, maybe we should change up that. He's like, all right, yeah, let's do that. And so we end up vegging up in this area that, I mean, it was the only, the opportunity for where we had to be wasn't ideal. Mm-hmm. We legitimately were on the other side of these bushes out in the open. There was like thick bushes around us, so we could veg up and blend in, but we were out there by ourselves, and we knew that. And after we did our recon, we told the guys like, hey, this is the only place we can go. This is legitimately like the only place we can go to be able to, get these guys. And so our contingency was, if something happened, we were going to have to wait a while before the guys could actually move to a position to provide cover fire and, everything else like that. And we're like, all right, cool, not a big deal, And so we're like, cool, we have our pistols and sniper rifles, you know what I mean? And so we go off, we get vegged up, we, help veg each other, get ourselves into position. Rifles are laying like kind of underneath the drag bags, which are vegged up. and we had our pistols out just because, I mean, I know people can't see us right now, but there's the distance from me to you, we had people walking past us. Mm-hmm. And it was just one of those things.
So 3, 4, 5 meters away is
5 meters.
There's people walking by.
Yeah, just walking by us, and we're out there, all throughout the night, the day. It's one of those things where you're like, all right, I have to pee. You're not trying to drink too much water because you don't have to use it, but at the same time, you're like, it's hot, so I need to. Luckily, since it is that hot, and you're in a ghillie suit, you're sweating most of it out anyways. But a couple times we had to pee, so you like slightly roll over, dig a hole, relieve yourself, cover back up, and lay back on top of it, And it was good though. We actually we got mortared at that position, and we got lucky. We definitely had our angels there because it messed up our radios temporarily, and everything around us was just kind of tore up, like all the bushes and everything, and we didn't get hit by one thing. And it was just like, hey, what do we do? Do we stay here? Do we move them? Well, our radios were jacked up, so luckily they didn't move to us, and start laying down cover fire while we're trying to move back to them. So we just waited a little bit, made sure like we weren't trying to get suckered out or ambushed or anything, and then we just slowly made our way back to the group. We told them what happened. I mean, dude, me and him were pretty jacked up from that. Like we were throwing up, like the blast and everything else.
Were they 120s? You think?
Dude, honestly, I have no idea. Yeah. There's a couple of them, but like
if they rocked you that hard, then they were big.
We were throwing up the whole patrol back.
Oh,
me and
they
him.
were big.
Yeah, I mean we were both throwing up. We both had blood in our urine and stool after that, and it was just, I mean, it was, but whatever. I mean, we got the guys, and we called in counter stuff, and we came back, and everyone was happy because they didn't get mortared. The base didn't get mortared for a while. Because I remember after that, the laundry guys, these guys over there, they're doing the laundry, like they're so stoked that we did that, and we're like, man, we're stoked we got to do that. You know what I mean? That's awesome. They would come and pick up our laundry for us, and we're like, dude, no, we're good. Like, this is awkward. Like, you know what I mean? Like, go pick up your boys' laundry. Like, we're good. But it was really cool to be able to do that. Something completely outside the box that we hadn't been doing the whole time. So we were able to go from, and it just came from good planning. We had, like I said, we had solid leadership. So we had good plans in place.
Yeah. Yeah, and it was the amount of sustained combat operations for the whole task unit was damn, it was an incredible op tempo.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just like op every day to 1 unit, 2 unit, 3 elements going out, 4 elements.
Yeah.
It's all the time.
Yeah.